we go.
Yeah.
Hello! We're here. It's us.
We're here.
Hello. How are you guys?
What's up, everybody?
I think we're live. Somebody in the chat tell me if you can't hear us. It's the special.
I accidentally had the dual audio going, and I heard us on Twitch, and then I had to turn it off.
I am everywhere, Kurt. So tonight's the special level up episode 4.5 of Firelight Tales Titans Heirs. You guys are gonna level up.
From 4 to
Nice.
5, from 4 to 10.
No, it's gonna take a while till we get to 10. We'll go from 4 to 5.
I think after what you put us through, emotionally and physically, that 4 to 10, might just be.
That's fantastic, by the way. Has it been that intense?
Yeah, we physically leveled up one level, but we emotionally leveled up. Or no, I think we got level drained.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say we leveled down.
It's like emotional regression, right? I got some feedback from a couple of people that said that they were like really invested by the first few episodes so far, especially that second one. They were like, "Man, that was really heavy, but I can't wait to see what happens." And I was like, "All right, good, that it's working. That was right. That was good." Then.
It wasn't their family that got killed and kidnapped.
Yeah, really.
That's a fair point. That's a really fair point. I have to give it to you.
To be fair, it wasn't my family that was killed. It was somebody I'm invested in, but I can make the separation, Kurt.
I'm glad it only took us 30 years.
I can't.
Hence the drinks.
As I
fingers.
You don't know me.
You don't know me.
You don't know me. Oh, me.
Cool. So, how are you guys all feeling tonight? You're doing well. It's Monday. It's a new week, February 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The world continues
It's Monday.
hurtling forward. Everybody's doing all right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I dodged a major snowstorm up north, back down south, where it's, what was it, 40, 47 and sunny today? I'll take it.
Oh,
So,
we just got into the real cold snap where it's been like 10 degrees for the last couple of days. And it's like got to be 10 degrees for the next week. And it's been pretty mild so far, like 30s.
Tomorrow we're getting snow.
Yes. We're supposed to get dumped
Yeah.
out good.
we got hit down here the other day. It was like, it's going to be 27. I better get that fireplace lit. 27 degrees, no joke. So
27 is balmy. What are you talking about? T-shirt
To be-
weather.
to be fair, I work outside in the winter in the Northeast.
It's
so
true.
I
He has
understand
like
what
earned
cold
his stripes, so to speak. You know what I mean? This guy, we're shoveling driveways. He's shoveling runways when he was 20 years old. Yeah, it's brutal up here. No, I had to get my neighbor to come plow me out, and it was a whole rigmarole. His truck got stuck in the driveway, and now we got tractors. We got all kinds of stuff happening. Implements, this bush is getting mashed all over the place, but I can get out of my driveway now, so it's
Yeah.
good.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
Dude, you need a Durango.
Yeah, if only I had a Durango. Dude! Hey, Casey, what's going on, man? So, the level up episode, as you guys can see, we only have 3 of our players tonight. Mike is not here. He is doing important library things as a master librarian out there in the world, and God bless him, somebody has to. And so that leaves the 4 of us hanging out, and we figured that since you all have leveled up from 4th to 5th level, we would just get together and have a short stream tonight. Maybe, dare I say, roll some hit points.
We're taking the
and
average.
just talk
roll?
about it.
Yeah, we're all going to take the average.
Take the average. Exactly.
That's how we build suspense. Average.
No. No.
So yeah, so it's just worth, I guess, like circling around and talking about like where we're at. Does anybody have anything they want to like go over or dig into before like we get started and kind of go round robin here?
In what respect?
Just to like talk about anything so far. Like, do you have any thoughts? Is there anything about like the game so far you want to talk about, or your character, things that like you didn't expect, mechanical stuff, narrative stuff, anything?
I think that our PCs are all indelibly traumatized from the occurrences of the last week.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, I'm loving the I hope I don't pronounce it wrong. Is it Rulo? Ruldo. The DM.
Ruldo. It's okay. This is one of these things where, like, you build a world and, like, as a DM, you have to come to accept, like, the players are showing up to play their cool characters. They don't really care about your fancy
I don't know what
world.
you're talking about, but I'm taking notes and have a glossary of words on your fancy world lore in my notes.
That's true. I guess that's true, and I shouldn't root myself down like that. It is pretty interesting.
I do care
if I
about
don't say
it.
so.
I look over the like Abrea like dictionary like every time I get a chance.
I appreciate that effort. Yeah, so Ruldo is his name, Ruldo, right? Ruldo the Mirthful is the copper dragon shepherd of the world, right? And like the whole like lore of the world is that like the metallic dragons brought like the first thinking people to Abrea, like 2,000 years ago or thereabouts. And Ruldo brought a lot of the gnomes and the dwarves. Copper dragons have like these deep ingrained relationships with gnomes and dwarves. They love to tell riddles and jokes. They love like stories. They love mind puzzles and all this kind of stuff, and the gnomes are their absolute favorite. And so yeah, Ruldo is like one of these 5 essentially good gods in the world of Abrea. And the catch of like Abrea is that these gods are real, and they're not on some like faraway plane as distant beings, but like they exist here in the world. And these 5 kind of metallic shepherds are hidden away in these vast like secret citadels that are kind of scattered around the world, like Atlantis or like the lost city of gold or whatever, right? Yeah, so Ruldo, that's cool. I'm glad you're digging Ruldo.
Yeah, I love it. I love the like his involvement in like Crixus and everything. But so here's my question, which you may or may not want to or be able to answer, because
Sure.
maybe we shouldn't know this information, but
Sure.
was there like a dragon depending on like the sort of vibe of our party that we would have started off like having any influence with?
So that's a really good question. I like wrote this adventure a long time ago, right? I've talked about it a little bit, but I wrote it like kind of years ago and have evolved it and iterated it for 5th edition. And Mike particularly being like, I want to play Crixus. I want to play this Earth Genasi cleric of the Earth domain. That like got me thinking. But the more Mike kind of dug into Crixus and discovered like what he really was excited about playing, the more this idea that like he's an Earth domain cleric, but he worships like one of the shepherds. He worships one of the dragons, like came out. And to that end, I would say like Ruldo is the one that's like relevant here in Erkengard, more so than like a lot of the others. Like Ruldo was the one that was already like infused and kind of like had ties into this whole adventure. And so Mike kind of naturally leaned into that because the character he was making was very much like for this adventure. He was like, oh, mountains, like these races of stone, dwarves and gnomes and like whatever. Like, yeah, I want to play like a half earth genie who happens to be like a cleric of the earth domain.
Yeah.
And so it made those things like really easy to fit.
Yeah.
But I think he's taken like a much bigger role than I expected initially because of Crixus. Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, I
That's
know.
not too spoilery.
Because then there's like the metallurgist, which obviously like Ursula was involved with, and like Eerie kind of knows about, and like, you know, one of her like big goals is to like, you know, find whatever remnants of these people there are, and like, you know, like basically like try and be one of these like metallurgists. But there's Arian and Toll.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Arian the Desert Moon is like the brass dragon, and Toll the Watchful is the silver, Toll the Watchful Father.
Yes.
And then you have Vala the Just Mother, and Arome, the warrior of Arome's bronze fortress beneath the waves that Kurt has some connection with to a past Abrea game that we ran.
Cool.
I'm kind of blown away at the difference, just mechanics. Because I mean, you guys know, but I just since getting back into playing, I've really had one main character that I played. To go from a cleric to a fighter, and to go from a higher level back down to the beginning, it's really been mechanically different. Very different for me. So.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yep. We have like a home game we've been playing for 3.5 years now. We love you guys from the West Marches, Forgotten Marches for Life. It's set in the Forgotten Realms and the nation of Cormyr, and it's a West Marches style game. We built it to be able to have a lot of people come and go, and we've been really fortunate to have like a lot of our friends come in over the years and to make a lot of friends. Like I know all of you guys independently, but we all really kind of built our relationship together as like a group in this West Marches game over the last 3 years, right? And so, yeah, John plays an Azamar cleric of Jurgal, a death cleric named Sunar Brogue. And Sunar is currently 16th level. Is that correct?
I think so.
That's so
Yeah, so Sunar's walking around with 8th level spells. Sunar's like got wings. They've got some like serious items. In case you can't tell, after like 4 sessions, you guys are walking around with like some heavy magical equipment already. Like, I like magic items, and I like to give them to my players. So you guys are really formidable group of adventurers. And yeah, to go from the 16th level death cleric to a 4th level fighter, that's a pretty profound swing on the pendulum.
And anything to a dwarf is kind of a downplay. So.
Oh gosh. I love it.
We've because I play level 13 druid, which is the highest level character I've ever played. And I've never played a wizard before, so being strictly magic based, well, except for when she goes off the handles and whacks
stuff.
But yeah, being squishy. Like I'm squishy. I can't turn into a polar bear when I'm afraid to die, This is it. This is all I got. So it's interesting, but
it's cool. It's not like it's your first caster coming from like a druid. Like a druid is very much like a nature wizard in a lot of ways. Like you have a lot of spells you have to manage, in a sense, even more than a wizard because you have that whole druid list. But to your point, yeah, like Kisviel's a Circle of the Moon druid. Her default is like, guys, like drop me on this thing. I'm gonna turn into an earth elemental,
I love it. Yeah.
Kisviel does a lot of like getting in there, grappling stuff, like knocking things over. And,
it got brought up the other night too. I've told you guys the story before, but whenever I drink any amount of alcohol, I automatically default to talking about things that I love, and one of those things is Dungeons and Dragons. So I just start talking. Somebody says the word whisper, and I start talking about Whisper and hey,
he's a character from our home game. He's a tabaxi.
Like a lion man in our D&D campaign. And then everybody's like, "Oh, what? What's the matter, Taylor? Like, you can't do this thing? What are you, level 12 druid?" And I'm like, I'm a level 13 druid.
I love it. You're doing better than me. This is like the time of the night when I'd be mowing the olden days that I played a ranger for like 6 years straight, and like I made it to 11th level. So you guys are like living some kind of Monty Hall life that I don't know from. You guys are like Scrooge McDuck swimming around in vats of money, vats of experience. And I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine. Kurt's got a couple of characters in that campaign, both of which are awesome. But Kurt, more than anyone else, has dedicated himself to playing 2 characters and has therefore bitten the dark bullet of the experience split. So that's been tough. But both those characters are very cool. They're from the beginning, and I love them.
It's not so bad. I think they're 13 and 12 in
there
terms
you go.
of.
So yeah, you've kept up with your druid. Yep.
Kinda. Yeah, I've kept up with the druid. Tobias is not is kind of lagging behind his friend the death priest, but
I miss Tobias. God Squad.
Yep.
God Squad. I love Ander though. Ander is like, oh.
Yeah, Andrew is Kurt's half-elven rogue, who's kind of like an arcane delver. It's a little twist on an arcane trickster. And then Tobias is his paladin of Kalimvor. We're big on death priests in our home game. Death priests,
love that.
death paladins, we love them. You got one? Come join the gang, you know. So we've had like a lot of fun with those guys for sure. Well, cool. So you guys are going to level up. 4th to 5th is like kind of a big deal. It's definitely a big deal for you spellcasters as you're about to dip into your first 3rd level spells. So this is pretty cool. And then John has like an interesting case because he's been talking about multi-classing from
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy talk.
Blown. He's also going to become a wizard in case it's not obvious. So why don't we talk about this for a second? I guess by nature of the alphabetical system by which language works, Bard comes first. Is that right?
I think Ball is before Bard.
Come on, don't do that. I dealt with that my entire childhood.
Would you? Okay, yes, I am a Bard. I'm a Minibard.
Minibard.
I almost said Minotaur, but that sounds...
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, hey, maybe we can get a gnomish short bus for you. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, I've lost all control.
Oh my goodness. The one thing we all get is our proficiency bonuses go up from +2 to +3. So like everything really we're good at even a little bit more.
Yep, the proficiency bonus is a really big deal, and that's a really a good thing to point out, Kirk, because it's easily overlooked. But yeah, this is like a major, like quiet jump in how formidable you guys are just across the board, right? So
it's huge.
I'm actually going through 20 and changing that right now. And look, it bumped up from 2 to 3. So yeah, so as a bard at 5th level, a few things happen.
Yep.
So I still can do Bardic Inspiration, which gives my colleagues a D6 to any of several things, from attack rolls to armor class to damage, blah, blah, blah. But at 5th level, that graduates up to a D8 instead of a D6.
Yeah, this is actually a really nice little jump for you.
Nice.
I wasn't expecting that. God, if he makes it to 15th level, that becomes a D12. Like, who busts out the D12?
I know. They found a good way to use the D12s in 5th edition. They, like, brought them back to the table, man.
So, yeah, he'll get Bardic Inspiration. It's so instead of up to 6 points of help, people get up to 8 points of help. And he gets Font of Inspiration. He used to have to take a long rest overnight for those 4 instances of Bardic Inspiration to although that's based on
your charisma modifier.
Yep. Right, okay. So it's still 4, but they now reset on a short rest instead of a long rest, or in addition to a long rest.
Yep.
So I can be throwing out all sorts of haikus and limericks to help my team. I can little trills on the war horn. I can do that much more often. But the other big thing is that Angus now has access to 3rd level spells.
Yes.
So he picks up another spell, and the way that works in D&D is you can. So I get an additional spell, and I can also change whenever you level up. You can change a spell. So what I will probably be doing is, for my extra spell, picking up a 3rd level spell, and swapping out a 1st or 2nd level spell for another 3rd level spell. So I would actually have 2 to pick from.
Give yourself some options. Cool. Do you have thoughts of what you've been looking at so far? I know we talked about a few things this week.
I do. So like the one spell that he has now, like if I'm talking about swapping in an old spell for a new spell, the old spell that he has that he's never cast, except probably in like pre-story backgroundy stuff, is locate animals or plants. He's never cast that in game. So I would probably swap that out. And I was looking at speak with plants as a 3rd level spell.
Oh, nice. We have seen Speak with Plants used to great effect over the years, but yeah, okay.
Because not only is it useful, it can force you to come up with all sorts of interesting voices for plant.
Yes, she will definitely put me on the spot, and we can spend entire 2-hour sessions talking to trees before NPCs set them afire.
Yeah, I can be like,
I do have to question, though, at this point. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do have to question at this point. We are above the tree line, and have been, unless we see like taking a drastic turn in our story. You know, is it going to be a fruitful spell to use, to take?
Was that a pun?
It was a very clever pun, actually. It was so good he didn't even realize.
I
know. Yes, it would be, I believe, because you can also you can use it to turn ordinary terrain into difficult terrain.
Mm-hmm. He can basically, as long as there's any type of anything, scrub brush, anything, like he can make it grow up and like really like take over a big area, creating it difficult. And yeah, it's to that point, like it's a really good point to raise, John. I wouldn't want to weigh in too heavily, but there'll be plants, you know, there's subterranean plants. Even in the caves, there were like lichens and mosses. It's not just trees, right? So there's some stuff for you to use.
I liken to cast the spell.
You like it to speak with the plants.
It is a third level spell. It gives you the ability to question plants about the day's events, which is just adorable. About creatures of the past, weather, blah, 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 blah. You can turn difficult terrain caused by plant growth into ordinary terrain, as well as the opposite. You can turn ordinary terrain into difficult terrain, causing vines, branches to hinder pursuers. They might be able to perform other tasks at your DM's discretion, so that means it gives me license to be creative.
Yep.
They can't uproot themselves, move around. And also, if there's a plant creature in the area, you can communicate with it as if you had a shared language, but you can't influence it. Also, if somebody is hindered by the Entangle spell, Speak with Plants releases them.
I did not know that one.
That's a fascinating, very niche counter that you Speak with Plants counters Entangle. Make a note of that. That's a great interaction.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
I think it's interesting, yeah. Yep.
I was also looking at Liamon's tiny hut. Okay, then I won't. I was glancing at it than looking at it. But there's all sorts of interesting things about that one because it creates like this basically a magical shell around you, and you can't cast spells through it, but you can attack from the inside out with missile weapons, which is kind of an interesting loophole. But I was thinking for my other third level spell, I tapped into the Acquisitions Incorporated rulebook.
Yes, this is what we talked about. I have the Acquisitions Inc. book, and we're going with any kind of official published stuff, so it flies. Like, I'm okay to dig into this as a resource. It's actually some really fascinating races in that book that I've been exploring recently.
And there's only like 6 new spells. But there's a third level spell called Motivational Speech. It is not a combat spell. It takes a minute to cast. It's more of a pre-combat spell or a non-combat spell. But it lasts an hour. You address allies, staff, or innocent bystanders to inspire them to greatness, whether they have anything to get excited about or not. You can choose up to 5 creatures within range, which is 60 feet. For the duration, they all get 5 temporary hit points, so that's like the aid spell that Crixus often casts.
Yep.
But everybody also for that hour has advantage on wisdom saving throws.
Yep.
In addition, if you are hit by an attack, you have advantage on the next attack roll that you make. The only kicker is that once you lose those temporary hit points, the effects of the spell end. Which basically I think means if, assuming you get hit, odds are you're going to be hit for more than 5 hit points.
Yeah.
Like so it's pretty much once you're hit, you're done, unless it's a really weak ass hit.
And then you get the advantage on the next attack, right? It's this almost like very dramatic counter of like best case scenario is you get hit
for like 4 points of damage.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
And then you get advantage, and the spell is still kicking in.
Yep.
But the odds of that, those are low.
Okay.
So that's what I thought that could be fun. There is another spell, a second level spell called Gift of Gab, where it basically allows the user to, like, if you kind of like mess up and like say the wrong thing to the wrong person, you can cast Gift of Gab to have like pretend the last 6 seconds didn't happen.
That's
it's
pretty
like
fantastic.
It's like the remove foot from mouth spell, and the verbal component of the spell is what you wish you'd said instead of what you actually did say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's very clever. There's like a higher level spell that's called Modify Memory, where you can go back like a few minutes and like rewrite something, and this is like a minor version of that. And I love that the casting time is 1 reaction, which you take when you speak to another creature. Like it literally is like, oh, my bad. That's a great bar.
I actually meant the only kicker is it's got a range of 5 feet. They have to be within 5 feet of you when you cast it. So it's not like you can use this.
Yep.
Like if you mess up while public speaking.
Yep.
It's not going to help you.
Yep.
But I think I'm going to go with motivational speech as a new spell. Rich, do temporary hit points from different sources stack? Okay.
No. So there's 2. I'm forgetting the technical name. There's temporary hit points and bonus hit points. Those stack. And there's like a subtle distinction between them. But temporary hit points from multiple sources do not stack. Like the highest one overwrites the lowest one, right? So if you had aid up and you like took damage and still had 2 hit points of like temporary aid, and then you did this, then the new ones would reset over the aid.
Because it takes a minute to cast it, odds are, I would have to coordinate with Crixus.
Yep.
So that he doesn't go casting, but I think the fact that you kind of have to prepare for it, and you're not casting it on the spot, is potentially helps counter the potential for us to kind of countercast against each other.
Oh, no doubt. And also it's a 1 hour duration with no concentration. So it's really kind of nice like that. It's that like it really enunciates the drama of like before you step through the doorway, Like last week I could see that moment before you guys like step out from under the like earth out of the tunnel back into the open sky. Like, all right, guys, listen, like I like it.
It seems like it's potentially a good spell for when you don't think there's necessarily combat that's going to take place, but something might go down, like something where you might need a wisdom spell saving throw.
Yep.
In the instance that something does go down, you've got a little bit of a buffer there.
I mean, I'll tell you, like my DM brain reading this thing, like overall, I'm like, oh, okay, a couple temporary hit points, cool. The reaction thing, like advantage on the attack, cool. But like the bonus, the advantage on wisdom saving throws, I'm like this thing will be useful in at multiple points. Like I'm sure this spell at the right moment could be like a game changer kind of a thing. So it feels valuable for a 3rd level spell slot.
Yeah, and I only get 2 3rd level castings.
Yep.
So it's not like I'm going to be able to go crazy, and the odds are one of them is going to be a Cure Wounds spell cast at 3rd level.
Yep. So that tracks so far. So we're talking about motivational speech as your new spell, and then you're thinking about switching out locate plants and animals for speak with plants.
So that's what I'm leaning towards, yeah.
Okay, and then what?
I reserve the right to edit that before our next game session tomorrow evening.
Perfectly acceptable. You have 23 hours and 44 minutes, so 34 minutes. So that just leaves hit points.
Want me to do that right now? Okay, Here we go. And I take the average. No, I'm kidding.
Nice.
No, I will roll. So for those of you who don't know, Rich's approach is to let us either take the average as listed in the class. So for a bard, it would be 5 plus your con bonus. Do I have one? I do.
You do.
Or you can roll, and do you roll? I know we re-roll ones. Do we re-roll twos?
and I'll let you re-roll 1, 2. If you roll a 2, I'll let you re-roll it once. But if another one comes up, then the fates are telling us something, you know.
Never take a 1. You can decline it to a single type.
Yep.
Okay.
And with that, drum roll.
Switch over to roll 20. We're not sharing. I'll narrate for the home audience because we're not sharing roll 20.
I'm not sharing the roll 20 screen.
Hit dice. Oops, I'm not looking at it. Oh crap! That's a 1.
That is a 1. 1.
Okay, I get to re-roll that.
Re-roll.
So the
Hey, big money, big
Yeah,
money, big money.
no, that's not good.
Well,
Better.
great.
I was thinking I got a 6, but that means I rolled a 4.
came up 1 short of the average, so you're gonna get 6 rather than 7. That's still not bad. That's not a 3, which would have been really sad because theoretically that's the lowest you're gonna get.
Am I at full hit points now?
I gotta get used to being a squishy little bird.
I think technically not. I don't think you guys have completed a long rest since battling the scorpions and Hooktars.
Okay, then do my current hit points also go up by 6?
Yeah, this is actually a good point. We've always played in the past where when you level up, Bing, you reset, so you're at full hit points. Yeah.
Well, and weren't we were resting.
Yes,
before
you
we
were.
went
I'm
out
just being
into
really a jerky DM. Yeah.
I'm not assuming that we made
long rest before we went out into the wilderness.
You jam right.
I knew we were resting. I don't remember if there was confirmation that we did so successfully.
Yes, I think that's the space I was existing in as well, Kurt.
I see.
Okay, cool. So we got the increase on the inspiration die. You got the font of inspiration, so you get them back on short rest. So you're going to be throwing d8s around a lot. This is like a huge boon for you.
I hate that I don't hate it as part of the character. I wish I could do it to myself.
Oh, I bet. You need to play Blade. You played support bard, not butcher bard.
Yeah.
And so we got your 2 new spells, speak with plants potentially, and motivational speech. I dig it. Cool. So from bard we go to fighter. John, let's talk about Ulrich a little bit because you've been talking from the beginning. You have like a pretty clear vision of what you're trying to do. So let's figure out how we can get you there best, I guess.
All right. Yeah, I definitely always saw going barbarian berserker.
Yes.
As being the plan.
Yes.
So, which was just the thing a guy with a magical suit of armor needs is an excuse to take it off.
Hey, listen, there's a couple other people here that you can give the armor to,
Yeah, let's make a deal.
It's not like it makes you fly or anything. It doesn't have wings yet. So just to talk about it, we were discussing it early, right? You guys I started you at 4th level. So you already have your fighting style, action surge, all the basics. Your martial archetype is champion, the straightforward, high crit fighter, right? So the catch is, now you're about to go from 4th to 5th. You could pick up barbarian right here, but at 5th level as a fighter is where you get your second attack during the attack action. So if you jump to barbarian now, rather than taking 1 more level of fighter before you go, you're delaying that potentially a long time. Either you'd have to get to 5th level barbarian, or you'd have to put another level back on fighter along the way anyway.
Yeah, it just makes sense to take 1 more level of fighter.
I kind of think so too, and it's sad to say, it's very straightforward 5th level fighter. You don't get a lot other than
hit
you
points.
get another attack around, and you get hit points.
Again, a different aspect was the caster I'm used to playing is actually standing there to take the lumps. You know what I mean? That is.
Oh, yeah.
So, getting out in front to take the lumps and to keep people from going down, which has put me down, but
it has. But you've saved some people. Listen, we left the stream last week, and the second we hung up, Mike was like, "That was a really lethal encounter," and I was like, "Dude, I rolled 3 crits out of 4 attacks. It wasn't that bad."
I was waiting for that. I was so waiting for that.
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
Taylor,
just could not believe it.
So
I'm down.
I don't know what happened. So basically, yeah, Ulrich as a fighter going into 5th level is really just getting himself this extra attack and the hit points.
Yeah, but I will take it.
Okay. Are you going to roll? Or are you going to take the average?
Man, I think I'm gonna roll. We're gonna go for it. So D10, right?
Yeah.
If I remember right.
Yep.
All right.
Plus
6.
on.
6. Not bad.
All right.
What's your constitution?
18 con. So that's 10 more hit points.
Wow.
Heck
18
yeah.
con. He's not joking around. What does that put Ulrich's total at?
That we are at 52 hit points for 5th level.
Wow.
Oh my god.
It feels like a lot. It feels like a lot.
Oh my. It's a lot. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'll take it. It works for me.
It's definitely a good start. You're going to need it. Ulrich has gotten his
Gonna
head
need
caved
it.
in more than once. Yeah. He's the fighter. It really is like an interesting point because Mike's not here tonight, but like we'll go to Erie next, obviously, with the wizard, and you're going to have to pick a couple of spells, and Angus picked a couple of spells. But going from 4th level cleric to 5th level cleric, you have to sit here and add every cleric spell on the list into your spell page, and like it's a lot, you know. I hadn't really like thought about it in these terms before, but it like playing a cleric is like almost more complex than a wizard these days.
Oh, 100% it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot. There's a lot there because you don't have a lot of like special abilities. You're obviously like your channel divinities, but to that end, even wizards don't get much outside of their spells and like their spell versatility. So I don't know. That's interesting. It's a really interesting point. But
That was always the hardest part about playing the cleric was that you have like every spell. It's not like you just pick a good spell and see which spell you like. It is like every spell. You know.
It's. I mean, I guess like what the rationale is that if with their prime attribute being wisdom, they're meant to have the foresight to know which spells are most likely going to aid them in that day. Like, okay,
It's optimistic.
Yeah.
Sure.
Similar with like Kiziel too. Like, yeah, you know, all those spells. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is. It's
But
a lot
yeah,
of
it is.
decision making, but
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize until I was like, oh, I like pick 2 spells, and those are my spells, and that's it.
Yep.
But how many of those cleric spells are like, you know, like 3 times in your entire adventure, you know, of years? You might that might have been the perfect spot, and you're like, of course it's not memorized. You know what I mean? It's not ready.
Yeah.
There's no way it's ready. You know, like I've never even dreamt of using this spell, and oh man, I wish that. Yeah.
It's very true, you know. The wizard has like the longest spell list, and the big bonus of the wizard is like eventually you could get all of them, you know. And there's a lot of juice in there. Like there's really a lot of very powerful stuff in the wizard spell list in particular. But yeah, man, this particular kind of campaign is like you don't have a ton of options to like access other spell books and be like meeting with other people and gaining more stuff. So these couple that you pick on the level ups are like really a big deal, I guess. So yeah, for Ulrich Barbarian, like we're looking there for your next level up, and we'll talk about like what that means and what you might want to do when you get there, you know. And the whole like armor interaction is interesting, but we'll see what happens as you hit level 6.
I screwed up. It's 51 hit points, not 52. So.
Okay, that's fair. I'll take any little bit I can get, 1 hit point at a time. That's how I'm gonna get.
That's how you get me every time. So.
So Erie, Silver Spark,
Yeah.
you're a 5th level wizard. This is a big deal. This is exciting.
Yes. So yeah, so I think I picked 2 spells that I want. And also obviously, so I wrote down also like the spells from the metallurgist spell book that I don't have and would like to memorize, and I wrote them in like order of like how many hours I need to spend on each one of them.
Okay.
So we'll get to that, but all right. So I'm thinking Leomund's Tiny Hut, which I have renamed Vandrin's Dome of Protection.
Nice. Yeah, this is totally a cool thing with me, right? The idea that Eerie like grew up in Erkengard and has had this one teacher, Ursula Vandrin, this ogre magi who taught her all this magic, and is like, this is Vandrin's dome of protection, you know? Like,
Well, and
who
like,
cares
you know,
about Lehman, man?
Now she's lost her, so this is like, you know, like, oh no, she's like still protecting us, and like because of her, this is why I can do this.
Yes, it's excellent. And the idea here is like not just that you wake up one day and suddenly you're like, I know this new ability, but that like it's a breakthrough, right? That like every night you've been like studying this, you've been doing it for like months, weeks, years ostensibly, and like it finally all clicks. You're putting the pieces together, right? So Lehman's Tiny Hut, obviously like super versatile. Also, we've talked about it before, but as a wizard, ritual spells are cool for you because you don't even have to have them prepared. As long as it's in that book, you can just crack your book and cast it as a ritual. So that's a really clutch utility tool for your whole group, certainly.
So,
Oh no.
can you guess what my next one is?
It's got it. So there's like 3
third
third
level
level spells that like
What
I
third
always
spell-
think of, but
what
I'll let
third
them
level
guess.
spell as a wizard could I have possibly have taken?
Given how often we've been traveling lately through very close and confined spaces where I'm sure random magic cast without thought to geometric shape is not going to be at all deadly, I'm guessing you didn't go for Fireball.
John, you want to put money on
This
that?
was really
Ulrich
funny.
going to put
I
any
was-
gold on the table?
This
The
is
other
why
day,
I
looking
stand
through-
right next to her all the time. This is the other reason, right? Because I'm the least likely to get hit by something going awry.
Well, she is typically in the front of the group.
It's one place to put your wizard. You don't lose them.
You know, well, you can always see over the top of her, right? I mean, she's
That's why we
shoot bows
Yeah.
over, you know.
That's why
So-
our marching order is in ascending height.
So, Taylor.
Exactly.
Fireball.
So,
So
yes. Yes. But so this was funny. I was looking through spells. I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, you know, my friends are around. I'm like on my laptop and I'm like, so I have a question. In D&D as a wizard, it is almost a necessity that you take Fireball.
Mhm.
So I could take Fireball, but I could also take something else. And the entire room was like, you have to take Fireball.
Yeah.
Not knowing anything about D&D.
Yeah.
They were like, you got it. I'm like, you know what? You're right.
There's a
I got
simple-
other things to memorize.
It's true. And
Need
there's
it.
this very simple truth that Eerie in particular is a lore master, right? That's like the wizard school that you chose. And the ability this gives you is like energy substitutions, right? You can cast your fireball with cold,
Yes.
with acid, with lightning, with thunder, with force damage. So like having the one big buku damage spell, never bad. I could sit here and like talk to you about other options, but I don't see the need to like talk you away from choosing the obvious choice of fireball.
that's ability to swap in.
I feel like I would go one thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
That ability to swap in a different damage type. Do you have to memorize the spell as a force fireball, or can you swap that damage type in when you cast it?
When you cast.
I swap it when I cast it, and I think I can only do it once. Let me double check.
I mean, Angus would completely encourage her to take fireball.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's what all the wizards in the stories do.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's
yeah,
it's like you're not really. He's like, she says she's a wizard, but she hasn't cast fireball. No, okay. Now she's a wizard.
She's a wizard. Somebody put that hat back on her. Yeah.
now wizard.
Choose.
Yeah. So
He's been struggling how to tell the tales of all of your triumphs in battle when he can't, in good faith, say, and then the wizard cast fireball.
Okay.
But now
Whoa.
he can.
Wait a minute. Wait. Okay. So I have spell secrets, which is this thing that gives me the ability to change that.
Mhm.
But apparently, when I cast a spell with a saving throw, you can change the saving throw from one ability score to another of your choice.
Uh-huh.
Oh crap! So you could cast
I just
fireball, and
get
they have to make
Yes.
a charisma saving throw against your fireball.
Yes, you did forget that, and you can, but it's one or the other. You can either change the energy or the saving throw, right?
That's so crazy. Oh my
Yeah, it's
gosh.
very crazy. That's why
I
it
read
never
the
made
changing
it
of
to
the
the
energy
official
was like,
books.
that's holy crap, that's so
Given that I have other PCs that take a major advantage, God, that would be really, if you're going up against a rogue,
Yep.
they can't use evasion then because that's if they.
the deck save.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Holy
fascinating mechanics that spiral out of that ability. But yes, I was not trying to beat the drum and be like, by the way, you could totally screw me over.
Yeah.
But
those
yes,
wisdom saving throws.
it's a very formidable
Woo.
ability. There's a lot of versatility to the lore master, and I just think it really fits the whole idea of the metallurgists are that again, the metallic dragons are the good dragons, the benevolent dragons who kind of gave these gifts to the people, and the metallurgists were the teachers who took their arcane lore and brought it out to the people, right? They're the kind of last vestige of this former time in terms of they're an active group in the world that teaches people how to tap into magic, that resists the imperial rule of the dynasties, right? And so yeah, the lore master whole thing fits kind of inexorably with that. I really like it a lot. So that's why I decided to keep it incorporated with Abrea, but it's really powerful. Yeah.
Yes.
And given that you just came up out of the caves and tunnels, I won't try to talk you into lightning bolt instead. So yeah, good call. Fireball.
I mean, I have which was there's my lightning damage, and
True.
also I'm not worried about the kind of I chose a lot. I got identify. I've got comprehend languages. Locate object.
Yep.
I've got all these kind of more utility type spells.
Yep.
And the ones that I'm going to eventually learn from the spell book are counterspell, dispel magic, non-detection, and tongues.
Yep.
Which are all again those counterspell is huge. It's probably gonna be one of the first ones I try to
master.
Memorize. Also shield.
Yep.
Invisibility and Dimension Door. Obviously, I don't have 4th level spells yet, but that's going to be a huge one.
Cool.
So that was my thought. Kind of go for the give me one that's I can protect us throughout the night, right? With the dome, we can sleep outside, which I'm assuming we're going to be braving a lot of elements and
shelter is really good. Yeah, I mean, you clearly part of this adventure is this kind of kind of slow speed chase across the mountains that's about to happen, and having shelter is a big deal.
Yeah.
And as long as you build the shelter over some scrub brush or something so I can talk to it as a follow.
Oh yes, we have something to help us fall asleep. That's great.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so just to expand on to Ursula, your mentor, gave you her old spell book. So you have this metallurgist spell book. And the idea here is if we look at Wizard, for each level of a spell that you're trying to learn, the process takes 2 hours and costs 50 gold. And that represents buying inks, magical inks and the right quills and sitting and copying it precisely. So I think she gave you this book. You can in fact master this book and make it one of your own, right? But we're still gonna need that 2 hours for spell level, right? So you'll have to sit there and get 6 hours chipped away to learn counterspell, right?
Yes.
All that kind of stuff. And because you're not a specialist, you don't have any of the bonuses that they get for an evoker can learn fireball faster than you can or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But okay, cool. So we're getting Fireball. We're getting, what is it? Vandrin's Dome of Protection?
Dome of Protection.
Excellent.
And I wrote, in the description what the actual spell is.
Yeah, good call. So we can, reference it. But as long as we have it all loaded into your sheet, we're cool there. Other than that, much like the fighter, the wizard is the other side of that coin. You don't get anything else. 5th level, you got 3rd level spells. That's really powerful. You now have 2 3rd level spell slots to throw around all your stuff with. Proficiency bonus went up, as Kurt pointed out at the beginning. So, hit points.
Yes.
Are you going to roll or take the average?
I'm going to roll.
Oh, boy.
Just the D6.
We eerie rolling the D6. Let's see what we can get.
Just don't roll a 3.
damn you, Kurt! You said 3, and there it is.
I like that you clapped at your wizard's even lower hit point pool. So a 3. Poor Eerie. No Constitution modifier. Eerie gains 3 hit points.
I mean, technically, that's my average, isn't it?
You would have
your
gotten
average
4.
would have been 4.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
They
fine.
round up. 5th edition is very kind and forgiving. So just to note now, we haven't rolled Crixus's yet, but we have Angus at 42, Hulric at 51, and Eerie at less than half of Hulric the monster with 24 hit points. Very fragile.
Very
Squishy
fragile.
wizard.
Our
I
little
can't turn
glass,
into bees with 132 hit points.
our little
Damn
glass
it.
cannon.
She is a little fireball
I
machine.
love it. I love
Cool. And so that, you guys, is the basics. That has brought you all from 4th to 5th level. You're like feeling pretty locked and loaded now for tomorrow night. Ready for some wyvern hunting.
Yeah. Something like that.
Cool, man. Cool.
Oh, maybe I'll get to try out my new hit points. I know I will. You won't let me down, Rich.
Get to try
Try
out
out
my
my
new
new
hit
hit
voice. Oh gosh, I love
That's
it.
hilarious.
I love it, man. So obviously Mike's not here. I'll talk through his level up stuff with him. We'll let him roll hit points when we get started tomorrow night. We're all going to hop back on 9 o'clock tomorrow to pick back up on our adventure. Is there anything else you guys want to go over or just talk about before we kind of make our way off into the world here?
I feel like there
You
was
each
something
got this handful of little items. I don't know if there's anything to kind of go over with any of that stuff.
I wanted to talk about kind of, all that stuff that we got. Because this robe is insane.
It's filled with
Oh.
useful items.
Very useful items.
I just want to give a shout out that our artist Tony is in the chat.
Hey, Tony.
Hi.
Tony is our artist, Kurt's longtime friend, who made the splash art for the characters here. It's so freaking awesome, Tony. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I
Thanks,
really
Tony.
do love it. Like some of the specific gestures of some of them, it really it just titillates me. I love
The
it.
sling. I love the sling.
Yeah. The sling in motion is pretty clutch. Like Hulric leaning on the hammer is excellent. I love Angus with sword and
Yes.
horn in hand, and Eerie's hat with the ears
It's
of the
just
side, just delights me to no end. I love it.
love it. It's so great.
I wonder if Angus has this is right before they took the picture for this family portrait. Angus is like, Hulric, you're holding onto the wrong end of the hammer.
I could see Hulric flipping it around quickly, the old ass gnome with the glasses, the Coke bottle spectacles, too late, I did the sketch work.
Love it. It's so good. It's so good.
I do like the face though. I do like your face, Kurt. It's
Good face.
what, my fly's open? You know what I mean?
One of my friends said that Angus better not get confused about which is his fighting hand and which is his horn hand. He might cut his snout.
I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I love the art. I love the pixel art from Sean too for our tokens. It's really cool. I'm so
Cool thing.
floored that we've actually got this stuff, but it's great, man. Great start. So yeah, you guys got a couple of little trinkets handed down to you by the elders. I've talked about it before, right? But I was deeply inspired by these 90s video games and this beat of the youths running out of the village and the elders being take this. Take this forgotten treasure before you go, And I love that, you guys kind of unpacking this stuff at the campsite afterwards. And Eerie, sitting in the cave, this massive cave underground of Bladefall, casting this ritual, identifying these things, trying to discern what they are. And then Crixus having a hell of a time with, his riddle of Ruldo.
Yeah.
That was all a bunch of fun for me. I don't know how well it translated, but I enjoyed it.
It's so funny because like all of these things, you said that like Ursula made like this robe, right?
Yes. Yes, she made this robe very explicitly. Like, it's new, and like it's rough and rustic in certain ways, but like Eerie of all people would like know, like, oh no, this is her like stitching, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And I love that. But like also I'm looking through all these lists of like incredibly useful items, as the robe is called. But we've got this. One of the items is a portable ram shaped like a dwarf's head.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's a little wooden Ulrich, I think it's definitely shaped like Ulrich's head in particular. Yeah. It's this like little beam with Ulrich's face at the end, and like,
Do the items disappear after being removed? So we got to keep that then. That's not something we use at this card. That's something we reuse and recycle that shit.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that like, there's a few things I'm sure that we could hold on to. But like the patch is only one use. So like,
the idea is
you go to shake it out like you're dusting it, and then all the patches come off at the same time accidentally. Like,
oh my god, no!
I love that you went to your grandmother's voice for that.
Sorry, I love that. I have a player who knows my grandmother's voice. So John might remember this, but like one of my earliest experiences playing D&D at like the big kids table, I got invited to like join John and Mike at like the cool team, and so I sit down at the table and they're playing through the Avatar trilogies, which was this really like big sprung story in second edition where the gods are cast down from the world, from the heavens into the world, right? And the idea is the god of magic has been cast down from the heavens, so magic's all effed up, and wild magic is like first getting introduced in this era of like second edition D&D in the early 90s, and like the god of magic's not there. Mistra's like not there to manage the magic, so the spells are all like going fucking haywire, and I show up for my first session, and one of our friends is playing this wizard very named after another famous wizard, Dalamar, and Dalamar had a robe of useful items, and we got into like a fight in the road, and Dalamar starts like grabbing patches and throwing them out of the robe, but like they were all just wild magic surges. Like he grabbed out a patch for like a hole and threw it on the ground, and like a fireball went off and immediately like killed my character, I like hadn't been at the table for more than 20 minutes, and I'm like, boom, 0 hit points, like laying on the ground, and I'm the new guy, so these other like adventurers are like, should we heal that guy?
My God.
I don't know, man. I don't have that many Cure Light wounds. Like, if I cast Cure Light wounds, it's going to be a wild magic surge. Like, we might blow him up. We might animate him as a zombie. Maybe we should just let him die,
Oh like, my goodness.
So the robe of useful items has like a very, very specific place in my like personal history with D&D that like I love it, man. I love it. And I have not had one in a game since then. So Godspeed, nice. Taylor. Have fun.
I'm honored. Hopefully I do it justice and I don't pull a patch when it's useless and I make a wrong decision, which is certainly going to happen at some point, but that's fine.
That's the best part of that. It's like, how utterly useless it becomes in the moment when you need like a specific thing. That's the best part of it,
I got some good stuff. I'm excited.
Absurdity.
Yeah. I'm really excited to use it.
That's part of why I like weird magic items as D&Ds, because like you give the players these like random weird things and you have no clue. Like they look at it and they're like, I guess I'll take this, like, sure, nobody wants this, like, all right, I'll hold on to it, and like suddenly it's 8 months later, and we're down to like the wire, people are bleeding out on the floor, we're in like the 6th round of combat, and somebody's like, I take out my decanter of endless water, exactly, and like everything goes sideways because you have like a half elf on the side of the screen with a fire hose like blasting demons off the top of a tower,
I don't think that Kisville was around for it in our offline or our non-streaming campaign, but we were like on another plane and there was, I think they were like dragon cultists. They were looking to summon a dragon, and they like, and one of them like killed themselves inside the summoning circle. And Rich was describing how the blood was like seeping into like the cracks of this carved pentagram. And I just took out my decanter of endless water and hosed it down till
He was like, no blood for you, ritual chamber. Yep. Get the lights
and
off.
I think because I think also the rules are you can't use it to like push a person, but you can use it to move objects. I go, well, at that point, the corpse is just an object, right? I'm pushing that sucker out of the circle.
Yeah.
Pressure
Anders,
washing.
like standing in the plane of limbo with a pressure washer. Exactly. Let's clean up this ritual chamber real quick.
He's got that single immovable rod that he doesn't really know what to do with.
Oh,
There've
the
been some good
immovable rods
moments
are
with that
so
thing.
fun.
There've been some
I
really
love it.
interesting
Oh my
moments
God.
with the movie,
Yeah.
but all right, cool. Well, if you guys are feeling pretty good and pretty prepped for tomorrow, like I'm ready. I'm really excited about tomorrow night. This is like the end of sort of chapters, I guess is wrong. Like each one of these things has been a chapter, right? Like the attack, the flight, the like discovery in the darkness, but now like as you return to the surface, you all have had this shared dream that we'll kind of go into a little bit more tomorrow night to clarify it. And I'm excited to see what happens next. This is a fun arc in our little story, I think.
I'm excited. I'm ready.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm a real wizard now.
You are. You got a fireball.
I'm a real wizard.
Harry,
Tell the stories.
You got a fireball. Cool. So remind me to make Mike roll hit points tomorrow night, or we'll be like halfway through the session in a fight, and he's going to be like, whoa, Rich, I got 7 more hit points.
You act like that hasn't happened more than 8, 10, 15 times. I mean,
30 times. I love Mike. He's good at like helping me with a lot of things, like keeping my pace. But he's funny and he's delightful, and nobody quite gives me shit the way he does. So I gotta love him, you know. Anyway, to that end, I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool.
Right.
Everybody hanging out in the chat, thanks for coming to watch us level up. I hope this was a fun little quick stream, a little bit of information, a little bit of advancement, definitely some excitement and a couple of laughs. So we'll
and
see
nobody
you
was
tomorrow.
exposed to my Minotaur's accent, so it was a winner for everybody.
I'm hurt when I don't get to hear the Minotaur's accent. We'll be back tomorrow night, Tuesday the 9th at 9 p.m. Eastern, Twitch TV DM Philly for episode 5 of Firelight Tales, The Titans Heirs. Bye.
Night, everybody.
Bye.